so for the first question, this was a sequences and series question. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so we can read it properly. So they were saying the first term of an arithmetic sequence is -1. Now guys, we need to recognize arithmetic sequence. That means that we're going to have a constant first difference. Okay, we need to know that. So they're saying the first term is -1. Guys, it doesn't matter what type of sequence it is, the first term is your A value. Alright, so I wrote there immediately that A is -1. And then they're saying the seventh term is 35. Okay, so there I've written down that term 7 is 35. Now they're asking us for the first question to determine the common difference of the sequence. So that is D, right? They're asking us to find our D value. Now what I did here is I just rewrote basically the information that they gave us in the question. They told us that the first term is -1, so A is -1, and then term 7 is 35. Now guys, it's an arithmetic sequence, so we need to be able to recognize from the formula sheet that this is the formula that we use. Yes.
So you just keep it on in the bracket and just...
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Okay, so arithmetic means that we are using the A plus N minus 1D formula. I remember in the test that you guys wrote, that was the main issue, is that you didn't use the correct formulas for the different types of number patterns. Grade 12, if you use the wrong formula, you get 0 straight away. So it's very, very important. Okay. Now what I did here is I rewrote term 7 using this formula, right? If it's term 7, it's going to be A plus 7 minus 1D. Does that make sense? Term 7 means that your N value is 7. So that's why I rewrote it as A plus 7 minus 1, which is 6D. And that is then equal to 35. That's what they told us, right? They told us that that term is 35. Now, because they've already told us that our A value is 1, or -1 rather, we can now replace A with -1. Alright, so from there you can solve for D, which is what they asked us for. The -1 you're going to take to the other side. You're going to add 1, so you end up with 36, and then you divide by 6. Okay, this was just a 2-mark question, so I'm assuming it would be 1 mark for kind of putting in your A value and having that formula, and then a mark for the answer. Okay, 2.1.2, they were now asking for the number of terms in the sequence. Guys, if they're asking for the number of terms, that is always N. Okay, so we're going to have to solve for N. In the sequence, if the last term of the sequence is 473. Now, if they've given us a specific term of the sequence, we need to know that we're going to make that equal to term N. Right? The general term. We don't know which term it is, so we make it equal to term N, and we then solve for N. Okay, so here again, it's still an arithmetic sequence, so I'm still using that same formula. I'm putting in my A value, which they gave us in the beginning, plus N minus 1 times D. That is now the answer from the previous question. That's 6. And that is equal to 473. The term that they gave us. Right? They asked us basically which term is equal to 473. So we make 473 equal to the nth term formula. Now from here, guys, you could have solved for n in a different way. You could have multiplied the 6 into the brackets and then moved everything across. That's also fine. But what I did here is I just said, okay, the opposite of subtracting 1 is adding 1. So that's how I got to 474. Then I divided by 6 and then I added 1. But it's fine if you did this. If you said -1 plus 6n minus 6 is equal to 473. And then you could have simplified on this side. You could have said 6n minus 7 is 473. And then you could have added 7. So you would have ended up with 480. And then you would get to n equals 80 as well. Okay, so it's up to you guys how you actually want to solve for n in that equation. Doesn't matter. But basically, n is 80. So that means that this term, guys, the 473, that was the 80th term. Right? But I'm just going to go back up to the question. They said, they want us to say how many terms there are if the last term is 473. So the last term is the 80th one. So it doesn't make sense that there are then 80 terms in the number pattern. Alright, so you don't need to write that second last line here. Just thought maybe it would help with the understanding. So the last term was term 80, so there are then 80 terms in the sequence. This was out of 3. So I think it would probably be 1 mark for subbing all of these things in there, and 1 mark for making it equal to 473, and then a mark for your final answer. Okay, any questions on that one? Right, 2 point, yes.
So you have to read the statement.
Yeah, or you can, I think it's fine if you just say 80 terms. Okay, but you can't just end at n equals 80. Alright, last question. They now were asking for the sum of the first 40 terms in the sequence. So guys, if they're asking for the sum, you need to use your SN formula. Right? Which is this formula over here. I just rewrote it again because remember it's an arithmetic series now if we're adding them together. Okay, so you would have to use this formula. Again, it's on the formula sheet. You have to pick the correct one. It's the one that has the D in. For the one with the constant difference or common difference, you choose the one with the D. Okay, so from there, basically, we had all the values. They were asking us for the sum of the first 40 terms. So n would be 40, so you put that in twice for n over 2, and then for the n minus 1 as well. Our a value we've had from the start, and our d value we calculated. And then from there, you must just type that into a calculator and work it out. Then we quickly see 2 marks. Alright, so this would be 1 mark for subbing in and 1 mark for the answer. Guys, if it's a 2 mark question, that means it should take you 2 minutes to do this. Right? So you mustn't still think, oh, which formula, go look for the formula, now which one do I choose? Alright, you need to know which formulas go with which types of patterns. Okay, any questions on this one? Alright, the derivative one. So it was question 8.2. So there were 2 derivative questions here. Thank you. The first one was very simple. They just gave us this function, 4x cubed minus 5x squared. 2 mark question. Those are 2 very easy marks to get. Right? Remember, did they say anything about first principles here? No. So you're not going to do the limit h tends to 0 thing. Okay. If they're just asking for the derivative, and guys also notice they haven't actually used the word derivative. Right? They're just saying determine. Now they're saying f dash x. So you need to be able to look at this question and you need to recognize that that means the derivative. And in the second question, they've used dx. Again, you need to look at that and you need to recognize that that also means derivative. Okay, so for the first one, 4 times 3 is 12, and then x, we minus 1 from the exponent, x squared. That's worth 1 mark. Next one, minus 5 times 2 is 10, and then x, we minus 1 from the exponent. Okay, 2 easy marks there. Just applying the power rule. We didn't have to worry about any negative exponents or surds or fractions or anything funny. Right, the next one had more to it. Let me just quickly see. The next one was worth 4 marks. So here, remember guys, you can't apply the power rule if you have a fraction, and also not if you have surds, right? If you have roots. So the first thing that I did here was I rewrote the cube root of x. Just go over that again quickly. The cube root of x is the same as the cube root of x to the 1, right? So you would rewrite that as x to the power of, the exponent inside the surd goes to the top, and the number outside goes to the bottom. It becomes the denominator. So you have to do that in order to apply the power rule. So I did that there. And then I also am splitting the fraction up. Okay, we can't work in a fraction. You have to split that fraction up. So that was my first step. Oh, sorry. After that, now you need to rewrite each fraction so that you don't have variables in the denominator. So you can't have that x to the 4 at the bottom. So here what I did, remember we spoke about this the other day, we are applying this old exponent law, right? Where if you have the same bases and you're dividing, you're going to take the top exponent minus the bottom exponent. So that is the law that I'm applying for that first term. Okay, so the top exponent was a third and I'm minusing the bottom one. And this one, we don't have to apply any exponent laws. We just need to remember that if it's x to the 4 at the bottom, I need to rewrite it as x to the negative 4. Okay, now guys, for this one, this step, you can just use your calculator. You didn't actually have to write this as a separate step either. You could have gone straight from that to that. So you just type into the calculator 1 over 3 minus 4, and you'll get to negative 11 over 3. Okay, which is a bit of a funny fraction, but we're just applying the exponent laws. Okay, now finally, and I'm hoping that you put your dx all the way down, because we haven't actually applied the power rule, right? We're still just simplifying the whole thing. So only now when you do your whole exponent multiplied by coefficient thing, are you allowed to drop the dx. Okay, so see from there to there. Now here I am applying the power rule. So I'll just say power rule. So only in that step do you drop the dx. And guys, unfortunately, if you're applying the power rule and you are still writing dx, you will also lose a mark. Okay, so you have to go from dx to no dx. Again, you could use your calculator for this multiplication if you wanted to. It's negative 6 times negative 11 over 3. That gives you 22. And then x. And then again, you can use your calculator if you want to. Negative 11 over 3 minus 1. Remember, you always subtract 1 from the exponent. And you get that. The next one is not as bad. It's 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And again, you minus 1 from the exponent. And then all that's left is for you to just take the negative exponents to the bottom of the fraction. Okay. Oh, sorry, that was worth 4 marks. I think, let me quickly see. It probably would have been a mark for each of these simplified terms there, and then a mark, 1 mark for that, and then 1 mark for the final answer. Putting them both over positive exponents. Right, guys, it's a little bit concerning that you had 5 days to do this in, and I can clearly see that the majority of you didn't do it. So, I don't know, your exams are quite soon, hey? Yeah, that's all I'll say at this point. Okay, finding the equation of a tangent to a curve. Next section, please. This is still under calculus, so we're going to use calculus in this work.